Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. I go by Organized Hobbit here on YouTube as well as Instagram, and I make videos. I think I've been inspired by Hello Alice with that opening. I was just watching her video and I realized I'm just saying the exact same thing. But anyway, so today I'm going to be doing my review of the JazperStardust handmade watercolors. I decided to purchase from him as well as a couple other, I guess, I don't want to say not so known because that's not really the right term, but I guess a couple that aren't as famous as, say, Green Leaf Blueberry and Redwood Willow, just because of a couple of reasons. Number one, I find with those companies it's hard to get in when they have sales, and they seem like they're great watercolors. I've unfortunately never tried them. But I wanted something that would be a little bit more readily available to you guys, as well as I wanted to have a chance to kind of showcase a few companies that, you know, maybe starting up, maybe have been there for a while but aren't, like I said, as well known as the other ones, or just to kind of share my opinions of these products, because I know there's a lot of people that want to try something different than, you know, Dan Smith or Magello, Winsor & Newton, blah blah blah. So I decided to kind of get this video going so I could show you guys these. I will be doing a comparison between a couple of different handmade watercolors. I have one more company sending me them, so once I have them I will be doing a review of them. There's 4 different varieties of them, and I'm going to be getting some information from all of them just so I can give you guys some insight and show you guys some of these cool companies. So I was following him for a little, or I was watching periodically, I should say, for a little while. I was planning on purchasing his 24 set just so I had a good variety of watercolors. However, I happened to look at his Instagram one day and he was selling his 48 set. And I know this isn't all the colors, but I wanted to have the nice variety of them. So I snagged this one when I could. And it came in super quick. There was no custom charges, no fees or anything. So I was really excited about that one. It was packaged beautifully. The tin that it comes in is from Kramer Pigments, who sells individual pigments to make handmade watercolors and whatnot. I believe that is where he gets his, but don't quote me on that. I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of information in regards to this company and the watercolors before we get started. And gonna turn this way. My palette is a little bit dirty. I apologize. I was painting with them last night, so, and this is just my planner. So it's 100% handmade. He uses pure earth pigments. They're meant to be professional grade and light fast. When he is creating them, so when he's mulling them and whatnot, it doesn't touch metal. So when he's mulling the pigments and everything, it doesn't touch metal to ensure that the colors don't change, because when pigments and whatnot make contact with metal, it can cause, you know, it can cause color change and whatnot over time and what have you. He has a lot of, sorry, having a brain moment here. He has a lot of different selections and whatnot on his website, or I should say his Etsy shop. There is tons of different sets ranging from this one. He does sell this one on his Instagram more frequently. He tends to post there more often. So if you are interested in the full set, I would definitely check him out on there. I know at the time that I'm filming this, he did have some up and ready to sell. I'm not sure if they're available anymore, but there is other sets available ranging from individual pans all the way up to, like I said, this one. He's got different sets utilized, you know, more tropical colors, more astral colors. So really there's a ton of options when it comes to purchasing from this company, which was one of the big pros that I wanted, because like I said, I hate when I want to buy something and I can't buy it, or I have to rush to get it. It's great for the company. It means the company's doing well, it's successful and whatnot. However, as a consumer, it's not something that I enjoy, and I know I'm the type of person, if I can't get it readily, it's not something that I'm interested in, especially when it comes to supplies like this, because I want to be able to get my paints when I need them. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, is that set ever going to come again, or is anything similar ever going to come again, which was something that was a fear of mine when I was considering purchasing from a couple of the bigger companies that make handmade watercolors. And this is by no means a knock against them. I know many companies now, based on circumstance, based on how much volume, is a ready to order shop, or they only release so many at a time, and that's completely fine. For me personally, it wasn't something that I wanted to wait on. I may purchase them in the future if I happen to find them, but it was just, like I said, it's not, for me personally, it's just not something that I wanted to have to worry about. So when these came in, like I said, it was packaged perfectly. This one here, which is, I do believe, is the Orange Delicia. I believe that's, yeah, Orange Delicia. It was a little bit cracked. I promptly, you know, messaged him and whatnot, asked him about it, because with neutral pigments and whatnot, there tends to be a little bit more cracking. I've noticed that in a couple of different sets that I've ordered in other types of paints and whatnot. So I was expecting some minimal cracking like there is in a couple of the earth tones here. However, this one was almost, I guess, broken apart, and he said it might just be that it was a potential bad one, and he was very quick to offer to replace it for me if it wasn't to my satisfaction. Thankfully, I was able just to kind of put it back together with some water, and it's paints just fine, so I didn't bother with it just because it was good. But that customer service aspect right then and there was one of the main reasons I was so excited. He was very easy to talk to. I had a ton of questions when I buy from new company, and he was very quick to answer them, which I appreciated. So that was very exciting. These colors are super pretty. There's so much granulation in the earth tones and whatnot. So, but yeah, this is how they come. They come in a metal tin and whatnot. One of my biggest, I guess, issues with that is that, unfortunately, like, because he does supply such a generous amount, I have had a couple of these start popping out a couple of times, but that's not necessarily a fault of his. That's more a fault of the tin, just because these tins and whatnot are kind of one size fits all, and even some of the half pans that I bought from other companies don't even fit in these tins because they're too long. So that, I don't think is a knock against him, but just something to consider if you're worried about these popping out. They pop right back in. It just might be when you open them, one might be out. So just to keep that in mind. So I'm just going to kind of move this out of the way. I did do a color swatch of these paints. I'm just going to bring that over here. So I did a color swatch of all the paints. When they came in individually wrapped with a white covering that had a stamp on it, as well as a little swatch of the color and the name of it. The names on most of them were handwritten, so I wasn't 100% sure what they were all written as. So there's a couple that I have written in pencil on here just because I wasn't sure what they are. I was able to go onto his Etsy and name most of them just fine after that, but just because it's such a small space. So if you're worried about that, it was a little bit of a small task, but really nothing to worry about. I don't know if that's something that's going to be changing with packaging. I know he said there's going to be some new changes and whatnot, so just something to be cognitive of if that's something that bugs you. But I'm sure if you ask, he has no problem giving you a list of his colors. He was very forthcoming when I asked for any information. So like I said, customer service was great. So let's move on. There's a ton of earth pigments and a ton of very granulating tones. Like, I absolutely love these three here, the Caput Mortem, the Roasted Chestnut, and the Ox Brown. Absolutely super beautiful. And the CBVL, which I'm not 100% sure what the full term of that one is so pretty. The Pinot Noir, Burgundy's Bro, like, oh, so pretty. And that purple stone, like, that I think is like one of my favorites, is that one right there. I really found these to be very pigmented, like, as you can see, like, super pigmented. I don't like to, when I'm doing swatches, have a lot of paint on my brush. I want to see what the translucency is, the opacity, as well as what these paints do without a ton of them. I only had to do it a very little bit on these two, and I got a ton of paint on them. I did do some looser versions, which I had to slice off to fit in my little swatch book, unfortunately, but that's okay. But they're so pigmented and they're so pretty. I did a couple of little, I guess, tests on them just to see how they work for how opaque they are, as well as some glazing. I'm not a very common glazer, like, I don't do a ton of it in my paintings, a little bit, I guess, but they glazed for the most part beautifully. I kind of was impatient, so please don't assume that they're not as like glazing as what I'm showing them. But when I was painting with them and doing layers and whatnot, they layered beautifully. I was able to get a lot of textures and stuff in my paintings. The colors are a little bit on the opaque side when it comes to the earth tones and whatnot, which is normal. One of the big things that I did find though that I personally didn't like, but I was able to fix very easily, and actually I'm going to grab something real quick first for you guys. Sorry, I should have had this with me so I could show you what I was using. But the reds especially, they kind of rub, and if you like run paper across them or something, you get a little bit on your finger as well as the other sheet of paper, and I'm thinking that's just kind of the way his paints are. It seems to be a common thing with quite a few of the colors that he has, but I found if I just used a fixative on it, and I'm just using the Krylon workable fixative because it's what I had at home, that fixed the problem fine. I did a couple of, I guess, tester paintings to start off before I started working with them a little bit more, and when I sprayed them with this, it was fine. And I find that this fixative, it does kind of smell when you use it, so just keep yourself ventilated, but that smell goes away like within minutes. It was gone. So don't worry about using it with your paints as well as your book. This I've been using for years, and I have never seen any adjustments to my paints. I've never used them with handmade watercolors and whatnot, so I can't speak to that yet, but it didn't seem to do any harm to my papers or anything over time. So if that's an issue for you, it's a simple fix, so I really don't think it should deter you from trying these paints out at all. But I wanted to kind of let you guys know that, because when I do a review, even if something isn't that great or something that might be a concern, I want to mention it so that way you guys have kind of a full picture of what I'm showing you. So I did a quick little, I guess, sunlight study just to kind of see how they blended, how they kind of work together, and I kind of chose colors that I knew that granulated very much, just to see what kind of textures I could pull out of there even with blending. And I found these to be extremely so nice to use. This was like a quick 15-minute painting, if that, or something. Just kind of slapping the paint down. It lifted so easily, and the colors and whatnot, they just kind of naturally seem to go together. Even like the pinks and the yellows and whatnot, when I was mixing them in together, I was worried about them making mud, because pink and orange and yellow and whatnot don't always go together as nicely, but they've mixed just fine. I was able to get some really nice mixed blacks out of there using my ultramarine and I believe my Indian red. I can't exactly remember, it's been a little while now, but like I said, I used and I have a clean figure here, the stuff, and then the blue barely came off at all. Yeah, super nice. I'm mainly a portrait painter, so I wanted to see, as well as texture, to see what I could get for smooth effects. And I found painting with these ones, I could get a ton of smooth effects very easily. I was able to get some dimension in my colors. I really enjoyed using them. The one concern that I did have with that little bit more of, I guess, a granulating texture with them and that residue was that they might clog my markers. I use Copic sketch markers quite frequently with my watercolor, just because I like to have kind of a little bit of multimedia effect, as well as I prefer using some gold accents. Didn't clog it up at all. It didn't even like phase the markers. I was a little bit concerned about them like kind of like roughing up the edges. It didn't do any of that. So it's honestly, I'm very impressed with these paints. I find them super pigmented. I find them really nice to use. I did another painting because I wanted to kind of test out an effect that I was looking for. I'm just trying to find the painting. There we go. I wanted to see how well they faded, like the individual colors and whatnot. So everything that was done on here was done with one color. So like the one pink, the one blue, the one brown, just to kind of see what effects I could get with simple colors. And as you can see, using the layering and the glazing, I got some really nice dimensions. And I kept this light just because this was a painting that I wanted to keep light. But that pink, I kept it subtle at the beginning, and it, you know, even at the top where it reached a more white place, it may not pick it up as well on the camera, but it is still quite nice and pink up top, you know. And then the dress was very faded, added layers in the corners and whatnot of her dress, and her hair you know, got some little curls in there and whatnot, and it was just a very quick study of a painting. But you know, you can get your textures, you can get easy things on there, which is really fantastic. I don't think there was another one in here that I painted with that one, but there is one in my other journal, or I guess art journal. The biggest thing that excited me about this one is how granulating they were, especially for landscape painters, because you want to have something that is granulating, so that way when you are painting you're able to get those good effects, those easy effects, especially if you're landscaping and whatnot. Where is it? This one right here. So I painted out this one and I used my JazperStardust and whatnot on them, and I was able to get some really nice dimension in the painting and some great texture with the ultramarines. I don't know if it's picking up very well on the camera. I don't know if it is or not, but it was a real pleasure to use. I really look forward to seeing what I can do with them going forward, and if you guys are interested, I think that these are something that are worth investing in. I would definitely invest in more once I, you know, utilize the ones that I already have. So my yay or nay on this is definitely a yay. I think that if you're getting serious about your art and whatnot, and you want something that's, you know, not the same thing everybody else has, if you want something that'll fit your texture desires, your landscapes, your plein air painting, your painting outside, urban sketching, these are perfect paints for that. I really think that these are worth a go on that. I will show you guys, like I said in my other video, once I have my other paints in, a review of different handmade watercolors. But being this is the first handmade watercolor that I got, I'm really impressed with them. The only knock that I really found on them was the fact that they had that almost rubby texture, but I left a couple of my paintings untreated, and we'll see how it goes over time. I may do a follow-up just to see if there is any issues with rub-on and whatnot in keeping them against each other in sketchbooks and what have you. So far there's been nothing, so I think it's just more or less don't be super rough with your paintings, which you shouldn't be anyway. But anyway, these are really great paints. Please go check him out. Please go say hi. I will have his Instagram link down below, which then leads you guys to his shop. Go check him out. He was really nice to purchase from, and I can't wait to buy more from him, like I said, when I need more. So thank you for watching. Bye now.